What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. This one's going to be pretty quick and to the point. I'm going to show you how to change the rear diff fluid in your S550 Mustangs. So I got the car already up on the lift. I got my fluid, so I'm going to be replacing the current stuff with some Royal Purple Max Gear 75W90. According to the owner's manual, the rear diff takes 1.5 liters or 3.2 quarts, or however you prefer to measure out that metric. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with the milliliter route because my syringe here, it goes up into 500 milliliter increments, or it goes up to 500 milliliters for me to fill. So I think that's going to be the easiest way to judge. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So I got my drain pan set up already, and for this you're only really going to need to have a 3/8 inch ratchet. So typically you're not going to have much issue getting to the drain or the fill plugs here. However, since I have these cutouts that are in the way, I'm going to need an extension. So let's see here, is that going to be too high or not enough? I think I'm going to need a shorter extension than this. Well, that should fit, so let's give it a try. And before you open up the drain, you want to make sure that the fill plug is loose first, because if you can't get your fill plug open and you drain out all your fluid, then you're kind of a sitting duck. So doing it this way, you can make sure you're able to put fluid in later, and taking the fill plug out first, you'll get a better pour out of the drain. Alright, time for the bottom one. Hopefully this doesn't splash too much since I have my exhaust. All right, nice and smooth. Well, so much for smooth. Good thing that these have a magnet on them. That way it picks up any metal particles that are in your fluid. So just after you get the plugs out, just give them a quick wipe off and set them aside till all your fluid's drained out. Okay, I'm good enough with that amount of flow coming out, so I'm going to put the plug back in. And be sure to give it another wipe, get all the excess fluid off. The drain plug should be torqued down to 35 foot-pounds. So after you get the bottom plug in, go ahead and torque it down. Now you can start adding your fluid in. So a lot of diff fluids will have the nozzle like this. However, I mean, it's kind of an awkward angle and you're not likely to get all the fluid out of it just by squeezing the bottle. So I picked up this 500 milliliter syringe off of Amazon, and that's what I'm going to go with, since really I can fill about 3 of these up and get the correct amount of fluid into the rear diff instead of guessing. I've seen a lot of debate online about how much fluid is supposed to go into the rear diff here. Some people just fill it up and do the pinky test or the finger test, where they just hook the inside part of their finger into it just to feel the top of the fluid. And there are other measurements online that for some reason there isn't much of a consensus on it, so just refer to your owner's manual. That's what I did, and the owner's manual recommends 3.2 pints of fluid, or 1.5 liters, which is 1,500 milliliters. If you still want to go with standard, what's the amount of fluid for pints? So 16, 32, 48. So it'll be about 52. Yeah, it'd be about 52 fluid ounces, or just under, if you're going off of fluid ounces. But honestly, I think for this application, going metric is probably going to be the easier route. So yeah, look at that, just nice and easy. Alright, so now after you've added the recommended amount of fluid, go ahead and clean off the entrance or the fill plug. Wipe down anything else that you've dripped, and you're good to reinstall the cap. Get the old fluid out of the way so you don't drop it in the pan. And the top one also gets torqued down to 35 foot-pounds as well. There we go. And after that, you are all set. Just gotta take your oil out and clean up your mess, and you are all good to go. I will say, probably on initial startup, though I haven't seen this and I'm not entirely sure if this is the process, at least this is what I'm gonna end up doing, is I'm just gonna go forwards and backwards in my driveway a few times, make sure the oil, like all the fluid, gets moved around in the differential before I take off for like an actual drive. But overall, this is a fairly easy and quick fluid change that most people overlook or get too intimidated because they don't really know anything about it. But I hope this helps.